morning. So first, thank you to Marilyn, Rachel, Kristen, and Sherry who helped hold the Sangha, allowed me to go camping, which was really wonderful, and seemed more than appropriate as we were spending a couple of weeks focusing on spiritual friendship, the teaching from the Buddha that spiritual friendship isn't just part of the path, it's the whole of the path, which is a pretty radical, strong statement, actually, that you all held it with each other. So thank you. We're going to, for these next 2 weeks, this week and next week, during the fall and winter, we often and will continue to take up more, I was going to say serious, but that's not it, more traditional Buddhist texts, because that's really important to know the ground of this tradition, and it's part of the fact that it's ancient, and what does it mean now is important for any tradition. To know the depths and what about right now? How do we live it? How do we be it? And in the summer, in particular, it seems well, it's been our pattern, but also I like it. We keep doing it. Is to bring forward themes that aren't maybe esoteric sutras, but when I first started practicing a long time ago, nobody talked about things like alcoholism or addiction and AA and what does AA, that there may be, that maybe meditation isn't going to cover everything. We all thought that if you just sit hard enough, long enough, well, you'll be enlightened. And adjusting the screen here. Now I think we know, and we keep reminding ourselves. We are all Buddhas waking up to be Buddha. And the path is this precious, messy, beautiful life. And each of us has our own conditioning, karmic family patterns, cultural, personal that we bring, and that actually is the material that is waking up. Where else are you going to wake up? Not over there. It's right here in this body, heart, and mind. So that's where we're be turning today, and we began on Tuesday. But a couple more announcements. September 8th. There's an all-day sitting and a Jukai, which is lay ordination. 6 Sangha members will be taking lay vows. Everybody's invited, but please let the registrar know, because we want to make sure we can fit everybody in. We'll be sending out information about the practice period soon, I think hopefully next week. And we'll be focusing on the Tibetan Lojong teachings. 59 slogans, ancient slogans about how to live and make practice real and alive. We'll be using Norman Fisher's book as the ground text. Pema's also written texts on it. There's lots of good commentaries. On Tuesday, 2 Sangha members will be joining with me to talk about their path of practice and recovery, just so we know it's not out there, it's us. We're all helping each other. And I want to stress, it's always true, but maybe particularly because this is tender territory, confidentiality, that when we get together in small groups or somebody shares, that it stays here. You could say in general what you heard, but we're not naming names, and if somebody says something in a small group, it stays there. And if you might want to follow up with it after the person afterwards, you could say that, you know, what you said, could we talk a little bit more? And you have the absolute, please, right. No, that was perfect, and that was just enough. So we're being really respectful of each other's needs and boundaries. Maybe sometimes I think about what I'm going to say and I write it down, and then I get here and I say something completely different. Or it's different what I say this morning than what I thought I was going to say yesterday. And so we'll see what actually happens.
Chris,
Yeah.
excuse me, could I make an announcement?
Yeah.
Joni is having an artist yard sale from Beyond this Saturday at my house from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And anybody in the Sangha who wants some art supplies, just come. They're free to you, and I'll just sell whatever's left. And I put some little flyers up there.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Sure.
Good. Okay. So maybe I'll use that as an entry point. I'll enter differently than where I thought I was going to enter even 5 minutes ago. Is not always so. We just don't know. Somebody said to Suzuki Roshi, "What if you had to describe Buddhism in, you know, in a few words? What would you say?" And he said, "Not always so." I.e., Joni, beloved Sangha member, died. Yeah, we just don't know what's going to happen next. So the reason I was thinking about this in particular was I, like maybe some of you, have been involved with watching the current convention. Mm-hmm. And it's wonderful. I'm so happy. Mm-hmm. And I was listening for just a moment on the radio when I was coming here today, and a commentator was saying, you know, at the Republican, that other convention, everybody was equally excited just so many weeks ago, or whatever it was. And then everything changed. Mm. It's like, talk about a teaching of, whoa, where you thought things were, and it's upside down. And so I'm talking to myself and I'm talking to all of us. What's the basic ground here? Because it's exciting. It's awful. Oh my God, everything's just despair. I thought it was good and now it's bad. And I mean, you know, it's like, please be happy when you're happy. Don't skip it. Please feel when we feel sorrow, despair, grief. But practice is, there's just a basic ground here. Because otherwise it's just, the wind just will push us all over the place. And trust me, the wind, it's like a tree, knows how to move in it. That's all. So that's the basis of where I want to come from today. And I will use and intend to use the Zen Way of Recovery, an Illuminated Path Out of the Darkness of Addiction by Laura Burgess is the ground text here. This is a very practical book that is full of just profound, deep Buddhist teachings. I mean, Laura's a long-term practitioner. I know her. She's anyway, it's wonderful the way she's making the teachings accessible through the entry gateway of addiction, which then takes me to Bodhisattva precepts. Which is a beautiful articulation of, we start with taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, taking refuge in the Buddha in each one of us, each person. Sorry, not you and not you, the whole world. That's the ground. Waking up to that and who we truly are, and helping each other, good spiritual friends. Dharma as the teachings. Most fundamental teaching is impermanence, not always so, which is what makes this world wondrous. You know, it's like late summer is beginning to turn into fall, and the light and the smells and it's like is just pay attention to your life, and it'll teach you everything you need to know. And we're so lucky to have an ancient tradition to keep coming back as a deep reference point, and to be turned and to turn, because I, like all of you, often want to make, and I think it's part of what the Western, well, human beings is, I'll take the teachings and make them as convenient as you know, depending on the moment. And if you once you know the ground of the teachings, it's like, well, you know, come back, let's consider. And the Sangha, spiritual friendship with and for the whole world, everybody's included. There's a verse, an avowal, an avowing, or sometimes it's called a confessing, but it's not confessing like I'm bad or you're bad, or that talks about all my ancient twisted karma is it's like we're human beings. To me, that's one of the most delightful things about this path, is it doesn't tell you you're going to turn into somebody other than you are. You're just going to become completely, thoroughly, all the way through, awake, luminescent, just kindness, compassion. And so I wanted to share, because Sherry had asked me to repeat it again. It came out of the practice period at Tassajara, a different kind of translation of this, which is nice. All my ancient twisted karma, all my timeless virtuous karma, from beginningless kindness, compassion, and wisdom born through body, speech, and mind, I now fully embrace. It's like, please embrace being a human being. Please embrace the light and the darkness and the dance of it all, and let's use it to wake up together. Which then brings us to their 10 grave or clear mind precepts. And the 5th precept is particularly about substances. And my understanding is that Suzuki Roshi was the one who changed it to add, I vow to not intoxicate with substances or doctrines, but to promote clarity and awareness. And I think my understanding is, or my intuition is he was in Japan in World War II. He saw a country go crazy behind a doctrine. And we all, you know, it's like, I got my doctrines, you got your doctrines, but let's keep asking and going all the way through what's really important here, so we don't go down and continue to go down roads in our own hearts and bodies and minds about, I got it and you don't, because we know where that ends up. One translation of the 5th precept, I think it's from Diane, wait a minute. Oh, it came out of the same practice period. I vow to cultivate a clear and pure heart and mind. Isn't that nice? But it doesn't mean it's the full lake. I was just in a mountain lake, you know, it's clear, but it's nuanced, and there's depths, and there's places where it's dark and it's cold and it's rocky, and it's also just so amazing. You just keep diving in over and over and over again. So that takes me to Laura's book. Chapter 5. Chapter 5. Kintsugi. I don't know if I'm saying it right. The places we are broken. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Yeah, I could see. So I want to say, some of you I've heard this story over and, the beautiful thing about stories is the first time you hear it, it's like, wow, that's a great story. And then the 100th time you hear it, you think, wow, that's a great story. And it just keeps going in and going in and going in. So I just more and more don't have any trouble at all repeating myself, and probably the older that I get, I've already covered my bases. So here we go. Zen tea master Zen no Rikyo was traveling through southern Japan and was invited to dinner by a man who wanted to impress him with an elaborate antique jar. Rikyo, though, didn't seem to notice the jar, but spoke poetically about a branch swaying in the breeze outside. He said his goodbyes and went on his way. Frustrated, the host held up the jar and hurled it to the floor, where it broke into many jagged shards. The host turned to go to bed as his startled guests looked at one another. Gathering up the fragments, they joined them together using lacquer infused with gold, a technique that became known as kintsugi. When Rikyo returned on another visit, he saw the repaired jar with the veins of gold highlighting the broken places, and he exclaimed, "Now that is magnificent." The practice of kintsugi belongs to the Japanese ideal of wabi-sabi, the appreciation of objects that are simple and unpretentious with rustic, aged quality. Wabi-sabi recognizes the beauty of things that are incomplete, imperfect, well-worn, and venerable. The great Sufi poet Rumi said, "The wound is where the light enters you." We don't sit zazen to try to improve ourselves, to perfect ourselves, to become a different or better version of ourselves. Rather, we sit to be exactly who we are. Though we don't sit with any idea of gain, we do come to know ourselves in an intimate way, all our flaws and cracks and the places in us that are seamed with gold. Such a beautiful metaphor and story. Because if you're paying attention, maybe you'll notice, like I do, there's always some standard you're setting yourself up against. And that's sort of what the precepts are in a certain way. It's like, here's a way to live. Please pay attention. But all that extra stuff that we do, which is like, wow, I just got it, or wow, I just, I'm a really bad person because I had it a minute ago, and that person over there who's been practicing, they sure look like a shining Buddha. And this is what we do. This is what we study with a lot of compassion, because then we start to realize we're all in the same boat. This is how we wake up together. So here's a story that came to me this morning, besides these, about not always so. It's another story you've probably heard a lot, and it's one I bring to you because I turn it a lot. It's like, wow, I can't imagine living this story, being this story, but I can imagine it more now than I could imagine it probably 20 years ago, just because there's a little more space, and because I turn the story and wonder what it is. Well, I always have wondered in Buddhism, equanimity. It's like, what in the world are they talking about? And I feel like I have a little bit more. So that's sort of what this there are cracks. The cracks are where the light comes in. Here's another story. In an often told Zen tale, the parents of a village girl stormed the hut of an aging monk Hakuin and thrust on him their daughter's newborn child. You know this story? So you know the story, some of you. They blame him for fathering the baby, mock his esteemed reputation, and name him a dirty old man. This is, I can't remember whose translation this is, but I'm using it. Awkwardly cradling the squalling baby, Hakuin makes a deep bow and responds with equanimity, "Is that so?" It's like, is that so? That night, as a chill wind penetrates the hut, he encircles the baby with his own warmth, offering her protection. He nurtures his child as a daughter, stitching her clothes from his monk's robes, sharing his own meager broth and rice, schooling her in poetry, brush painting, and the wisdom of the Dharma. When the true father is revealed, the girl's parents appear once again at Hakuin's hut, this time to claim the child as their own and to take her away. They praise Hakuin for his generosity, ask forgiveness for tarnishing his image as a monk, and name him a great benefactor. As he releases the beloved child, he makes a deep bow and again, with equanimity, responds, "Is that so?" That story lives inside of me. And I know, me being me, I will continue to flail against the wind and that does seem to me like that's part of the Bodhisattva vow, is how do we live upright and present in this world? And part of it is being able to say, is that so? No matter what happens, I'm just here and I'm going to take care of the situation as best I can. And we'll all help each other to do that. And remember, when we get lost or when we're headed down a road that has taints, feelings of self-righteousness, blame. I said on Tuesday, and I'll probably say again, that I love that we meet right next to AA. And that as we're coming and going, people from AA are coming and going, and we're all just crossing paths and we're all just waking up together. I like to imagine that whatever they're doing, they're helping us, and whatever we're doing here, we're helping them. That's just the way it is. So then I want to go to chapter 8 in Laura's book. The 8 awarenesses of the awakened being. It is said in the Mahaparinirvana Sutra, it is said that the Mahaparinirvana Sutra was the last teaching the Buddha gave before his death. Dogen Zenji, in his masterwork Shobogenzo, included the translation of the Buddha's teachings with the title Hachidanigaku. Interestingly, this was also apparently the last teaching that Dogen gave before his own death in 1253. The 8 awarenesses of the awakened person include 8 realizations or awakenings that are available to all of us. You want to hear them? Okay. Having few desires. Knowing how to be satisfied. Enjoying serenity and tranquility. Exerting meticulous effort. Not forgetting right thought. Practicing samadhi or meditation. Cultivating wisdom and avoiding idle talk. Let me just say just a couple words about each one of these. And again, it's a great book. Having few desires. It is a deep confusion to think you're going to get over having a desire as a human being. It's like non-attachment does not mean not having desires. It means what's your relationship to it? Study it. Knowing how to be satisfied. Now, suffering, the first noble truth of suffering is sometimes translated as dissatisfaction, fundamental dissatisfaction. I'm going to bring us back to this one because knowing how to be satisfied. What is that? I think I need one more drink, or I think I need this, or I need that, and then I'll be happy and wise and content and enjoying serenity and tranquility. That to me does seem to have something to do with equanimity. Just basic ground. Here we are. Exerting meticulous effort. Question of what's right effort. Lots of discussion these days about, in some quarters, about the value of rest. We're all trying so hard, and then, but we all lean different ways. Some of us do need a little more effort. And, I need more effort here, but there's also places where rest, please practice rest. Not forgetting right thought. Study your thoughts. You study them where it's where the light comes in. It's like, oh, smell it. Is it a wise, compassionate thought, or is it one more of those thought loops about what I need or what I like or what I don't like, or which is fine. Just, we're human, but how far down the road do you want to go before you wake up? Practicing meditation. Well, here we are. Sitting down. What is it to live meditation? I'm as interested in that as I am in please come and sit meditation and do it every morning. And please, that's really wonderful. But then get up off your cushion and live it, which is cultivating wisdom. Moment after moment, we are co-creating the world that we want the world to be. That's a bodhisattva responsibility. It's a joyful responsibility. And avoiding idle talk, which is so much of the Buddha's precepts and teachings are about speech. Smell your words. So the question that arose for me in this, and we get together in small groups, maybe groups of 3, mix yourselves up in a minute, people you haven't talked to for a while, or you haven't had a chance to talk to, and I'll do that with people online. You can talk about any of this that came up. I vow to cultivate a clear and pure heart and mind. What is that? I vow to promote clarity and awareness. What is that? But and maybe you'll want to turn towards this, is satisfaction. What is satisfaction? What is satisfaction, and how, knowing how to be satisfied? What is that? Knowing how to be satisfied. What is that? And I'm not saying you're going to come up with some finite, beautiful answer, but I'll remind us that the cracks are where the light comes in. Not always so. All my ancient twisted karma, all my timeless virtuous karma, from beginningless kindness, compassion, and wisdom born through body, speech, and mind, I now fully embrace. Those are all like kind of breadcrumbs to me, this question. So, okay, I'll divide you. You'll have a little less than 15 minutes. Each person gets maybe